Hey everybody, my name is Alec. I'm a director and DP, and today we're going to be talking about the first TV commercial job that I ever got. I'll be walking you through how I got the job, into pre-production, the day of the shoot, post-production, and then the commercial's ultimate and tragic fate. Chapter 1. How I got the job. The way I got this job has a lot to do with what I talked about in my last video, which is spec work. If you haven't seen that piece, you can check it out here. 2 years ago, I had literally no work under my belt. So what I did was I put together a project of fake commercials and edited them together in a really nice reel and then sent it out to as many production companies as I could possibly find. Most of the production companies I sent my work to didn't get back to me at all, but this is one of the few that did. They said they liked my work and that they didn't have any projects going on right now that I could work on, but that they might have something come up again in the future and that we should keep in touch. A couple months went by, and me being not that good at keeping up relationships at the time, I didn't send them any more emails after that. Fortunately, they did not forget about me, and in the fall, out of the blue, after not having talked to them for I think about 5 months, I got an email that said that there was a project where I might be a good fit for. So we hopped on a call the next day and started talking about the project. I was very lucky that I found this particular company because the people who worked there were super eager to, give the young guy a chance. And even though I wasn't very experienced, they were very excited to have somebody new handle a pretty ambitious project. In the meeting, they shared that this would be a TV commercial for a lottery company with a new ticket they're coming out, and that it would be Valentine's Day themed. They also shared a couple concepts that they had, but none of them had a fully built out script, storyboard, or shot list. So I really got to have creative control and freedom in creating those things. Before they hired me for the gig officially, they wanted to see if I could come up with a fully built out script and if it would be, good or not. Once I felt I had something ready to present, I sent them a draft of the script. They had a couple revisions, which I made, and then they basically called me and said, hey, you got the job. I remember sitting in a cafe off campus when I got the call and just being so over the moon and super excited and feeling like, this was the first sort of accomplishment that I've really had that gave me the confidence to think, hey, maybe this is a career path that I could seriously see myself going out to pursue. After I got hired, it was time to start planning. And that brings us to Chapter 2, pre-production. The biggest learning experience of this project versus everything I had done before just by myself was the fact that I actually had to communicate my creative ideas about what the piece is gonna be like before making the piece, which is kind of the whole job of the director on set, to be a creative communicator. There are 3 tools that I use to do this: a detailed treatment, a mood board, and a secret third thing that I'll share later. The first thing I'll talk about is the treatment, which I'm sure you're already familiar with. And at the time of making the commercial, I had never actually made a treatment before. So that was a really fun learning experience on communication tactics. If you're not aware, a treatment is basically like a big director's book that outlines all the ideas you have about look, feel, casting, costumes, set design. It answers questions like, what color, what type of fabric, what we had a big chair, what type of chair, what should the chair look like? You're basically making all the decisions of the commercial before making the commercial so that you can communicate it to everybody who's working on it and make sure we're all on the same page together. A lot of the times, treatments help directors get jobs. In my case, I had already gotten the job, so it was really just a communication tool for everybody else involved. That means it didn't have to be the prettiest presentation in the world, which it totally wasn't, but it got the job done, it communicated the right information, and it wasn't bad for my first time making one. Now, I was hired to be the director of this project, and we were actually bringing in another DP. This was my first time working with a DP who wasn't, just myself. A couple weeks before shooting, we had a meeting together where I walked him through a mood board I made of images I liked from other similar commercials, and we collaborated together to create the final look. One of the ideas I talked about with the DP was the fact that this commercial didn't really have to be super naturalistic. It almost should feel lit, kind of like those old SNL skits, like The Ladies' Man. For example, I had this one idea where the actor would actually start out in a silhouette, just backlit, and then all the key lights would fade in as the camera dollied in on the opening shot. Again, this whole meeting was just a really interesting experience of being able to communicate my ideas with somebody else. One thing I learned from it was needing to communicate your ideas to other people actually makes you think about them deeper, answer the question why, and have a more specific idea, if that makes any sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is being forced to communicate your idea to another person makes you outline that idea with such a finer tooth comb than you would have if you just had to think about it in your own head and then do it. Anyways, that brings me to my third secret tool. So the production company had asked for a storyboard before shooting, which I made, but unfortunately I am a horrible drawer, so I decided to, draw out the storyboard, but then to help additionally communicate what I wanted, I just filmed the commercial with my iPhone before filming the commercial. In this test commercial sort of mock-up video, not only did I include my rough iPhone footage, but I also included all the storyboard drawings I made, as well as some images from the mood board so that everybody knew what the lighting was gonna look like in that specific shot. I also threw in a music track and had some sound effects to further communicate what I wanted in the final thing. This video ended up being so helpful for the pre-production that, as a director, I still do this on all the commercials I'm hired to do, so long as there's time. There's not always time, but if there's time, it's an amazing tool to have. Anyways, with everything fully mapped out, we got to work finding props, costumes, set pieces, and the location. Finding a location for this was totally the hardest part of pre-production. The Valentine's Day feel of the commercial required us to have a great big wooden room with a crackling fireplace in the background. For some reason, a location like that was like really hard to find. Well, I guess it was easy to find, but it was hard to find for our budget. The production company who hired me was really pushing to shoot the entire thing on green screen, and I definitely did not want to do that. The actor we had chosen had this long flowy hair, and I knew that if we did a real green screen, it would not look right around the edges, that the commercial would look cheap, and I was really pushing to shoot this thing either in person or with some sort of LED projector on a white background. As time went on, it really looked like we were gonna have to shoot it on green screen because we just were not finding the location that we need. However, in the fourth quarter, after many, many hours of searching, we ended up finding an amazing place that was exactly what we wanted. It was big, it had a fireplace, gorgeous wood, beautiful staircase, and fortunately, it was in our budget. So we were good to go, shooting on location, no green screen. That brings me to chapter 3, the day of the shoot.